Hey guys, just gonna wait for some of the other folks to join. Hey Dweez, how's it going? Hey Dweez, can you hear me?
Hey Ziad, how's it going?
Doing good. How about you? It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you as well. I'm doing good. Just waiting for Sky. Sky. Oh, there she is.
Hi
Awesome. Hey Sky,
guys.
how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good. Just starting out the day. Still early in my time, so
Me too.
good.
Yep. Early morning. Well,
Yeah.
10:30.
What
Not
time is it for
not that
you?
early.
It's 10:30, so it's like good time to, be productive now.
Is it
Yeah.
nighttime for you, Dweez?
Yeah, it's 7:30 p.m. 7:32.
Mm, mm.
So I'm ending my day. Yeah.
Cool, cool. Awesome. Well, for everyone joining, really appreciate you coming in here to check us out. So today on our live stream, we're going to be talking about different types of engineering. Now, as you guys all know, there's like embedded engineering, software, web, mobile, and all of these different types. Computer science is obviously like just the general term for this entire industry. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you have any questions around that topic or around any topic really, just related to tech, feel free to drop it in the questions and in the comments, and we'll definitely answer it. So yeah, we can get started. I think we have a buildup of questions from previous times, so we can get started with that. The first one we have is a pretty general one, so I think we can kind of all like give our perspectives on it, and it is, what is software engineering? And I think this is like the most common type of engineering when when we talk about tech in particular. So, Sky, you want to take a shot at it? What would you say software engineering is?
Oh my gosh. Well, from my perspective, because I'm a computer science student at a university, I guess software engineering is just the engineering of software. So developing and coding and programming computers, specifically software, but it could be, I feel like it's a whole range of things. Like I feel like we use software engineering as like a umbrella term.
Hmm.
But specifically it would be just developing software or engineering software. But yeah, I think that the topics we're going to go into, I feel like would all fall under software engineering, I guess, or programming.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think I agree with you. It's definitely an umbrella term that, like, even when companies are hiring for something specific, they'll still say software engineer or like SWE or something like that. But
Mhm.
yeah, Dweez, what do you think? What is software engineering to you?
Yeah, I think it's I would I like to describe it as the process in which a system is designed. It's like a whole network. It's a system of tasks that commands that are given basically to the computer. But it's more about like the design of the process because that's what engineering is. You're designing different processes.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's how I like to see it. But it's an umbrella term, as Sky mentioned earlier. It can be a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's a very broad term.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely agree. For everyone just joining, we're talking about different types of engineering today. So if you have any questions related to that or just tech in general, definitely drop it in the comments and give us a follow. We'll always talking about different topics related to tech. To me, yeah, the question was, what is software engineering? So I think the way I like to think about it is that you have like in a typical computer, you have the hardware and you have the software. So the hardware is like the physical components. You got like memory and hard drives and CPU and stuff like that. And then software is really just like any code that's written to have to like interact with those things. So some software could be like really low level where you're actually dealing with those computer components, and other software engineering could be like super high level where you're just abstracting certain aspects of that computer. So it could be like web development, mobile, and all the different types of engineering that we're really going to be talking about today. But yeah, like when companies hire, they definitely just say software engineering these days and expect
Yeah.
you to kind of know the fundamentals of computer science in general. Um, cool. Okay. I think we can jump into the next question. What types of projects do software engineers typically work on? And this is so general, so I think we can make it specific to you. Like, I think all of us have written code at some point, and we're all kind of considered software engineers in a sense. So, what projects have you guys worked on, or like types of projects have you worked on? Dweez, you want to go first this time?
Yeah, so for me, I mostly have done web development and yeah, just front end development. Nothing crazy with the back end. I did not touch the back end. It's unknown fields for me. But yeah, I did web development for like smaller businesses. It's
Mm,
pretty simple. It's like, yeah, companies that just don't have a website. You'll be surprised how many of those there are. It's crazy. It's like a lot of companies, like smaller businesses, don't have a website. So yeah, I did that. And yeah,
yeah.
these are projects, right? I built websites for
Yeah.
local businesses. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So like, a lot of front end development. That makes sense. Sky, what about you? What kind of projects have you worked on as a software engineer?
Oh, well, I was gonna say, Dweez, that's really cool because I was just looking for like a tax expert or whatever, a CPA in my area, and I saw a business that had really good reviews, and I went to their website, and it was just like a box, and then you scroll and just regular font, like it was pretty bad, and I was just thinking about how much like we still need like people who know good web development because I feel like these Wix or what's the other one? I used to use it. It's like a website maker kind of. It's
Mhm.
just not doing it. So we need like real designers and like web development people. But um, yeah, so the software engineering that I've worked on is mostly in school. So at university as a computer science student, we usually start, I guess I would say, with back end. We've only done I've done like maybe two front end or back end, like a full stack kind of thing. But yeah, it's mostly back end, just working like getting your results in the terminal, like no like user interface. Um, but I am working on hopefully learning more about JavaScript so that I can implement more front end because I feel like I work with Java right now and it's very hard to implement like using Java effects and stuff. It's terrible. So I feel like I would stay more motivated if I could integrate some sort of user interface into my projects. But yeah, mostly back end for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Usually in university, I don't remember doing a lot of front end in general, to be honest. Like there's a lot of the
Yeah.
classes were definitely more geared towards either back end or like just theoretical concepts. But yeah, in front end, I haven't really dug into like embedded engineering or like other forms of software. But yeah, I would say I like front end a little bit more. I still like to see like kind of a visual like immediate feedback to my code, I guess. Like when you write code and you can see things happening in front of you, that's pretty cool. So I still
I think you have to be a genius to really do like any of this. I think you definitely have to work hard. You have to be able to like devote enough time to it. But I think if you spend enough time on anything, you will become better at it. And data structures and algorithms specifically, I haven't taken that class yet, but I've done like a good amount of time, spent a good amount of time on it on my own because I'm so kind of like intimidated by the class that I want to do good when I get to it. And then I did go over like your basic data structures, like arrays, stacks, array lists, linked lists, and algorithms I did go over as well, and they just take time to understand. And I think especially with like the jobs nowadays, if you can do, leak code problems, like I would say like medium to maybe a couple hard leak code problems, you probably would be able to prepare for those jobs. And I think they're just to get a job, they're just testing you on your thought process and how you think about approaching problems. So I would say you definitely don't have to be a genius, but you just have to be well rounded
Mhm.
with these kind of things.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with you there. I think data structures and algorithms is one of those classes that really helps you with like interview problems too. So it's but you don't have to be like a genius at it. It's like a practice makes perfect kind of thing. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Hopefully that answers your question if you're still here in the chat. Okay, the next question we have is similar to the last session. Like we said, what is software engineering? It's what is web development? I can kind of go first on this one. I think web development is also kind of an umbrella term, and it's kind of just like the development of websites in particular, but a lot of people can also include like mobile on there. So like designing like mobile websites or mobile apps even. So it includes like the full array of the front end work, like making the colors of everything and the design and stuff like that. In addition to some of the back end work as well. So like telling the computer what to do when the user presses login and stuff like that. So the code behind how all that works, I would say, is what web development is. What do you guys think? You guys have a different definition or anything to add? Dweez, do you want to go first?
No, I don't think, dude, I think when it comes to me at least, if I had, if my life was on the line, I would let you like define web development. But um, yeah, what do I define as it? It's just like the everything that has to do with building the website from scratch, like from the HTML code up till like the back end stuff, like cloud storages and all of that.
Mm,
So yeah, it's the just the process of building the whole system. Yeah, of that what we call the web page. That's
yeah,
what how I would define it. But I don't have much to add to what you already said.
yeah, no, that makes sense. Sky, what do you think?
Yeah, I think web development, I would say, is like definitely like full stack. Like, I feel like you have to be concerned with like the front end, the back end, like Dewey said, like cloud storage and like the data and almost like everything. I feel as compared to like software engineering, you go into like these tiny little sectors where you're just working on like kind of one thing on the back end that's like, teams and teams below what the actual product is.
Mm,
And full like web development is more like, I mean, I imagine if you're doing it all on your own, I don't know if people even do that anymore, like just design like an entire website and take care of everything. But it would
mm.
definitely be just like every part of the website, which is a lot more than what you see on the interface. There's a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Honestly, like people usually underestimate like how like complex a website is. Like you'll see something like Instagram or TikTok and you'll be like, "Oh, it's just like pictures and likes and stuff." But there's so much code that's like written underneath the hood to get those things to work.
Hundreds of people managing those websites.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right, we have a question in the chat, which I think is a really good one. I think Alex, your name is saying which tech stack is in demand. And I'm guessing like demand in terms of like the workforce and stuff. So what do you guys think? There's probably a lot of different answers to this one, but what's personal opinions?
What did
Burn.
you
I think Dweez has a strong opinion. You want to go, Dweez?
Yeah, no, I don't. No, I don't have a strong opinion on it. I just mentioned like Burn is an example. I don't. There are many other technology stacks. So a technology stack is basically like a set of skills that you need, like in different frameworks and languages. And yeah, you basically use like all of this stack together when you're building an application or a website, and yeah, or software. So yeah, that's the one I see, like one of the most popular ones that I see people learning. And yeah, there are more. And yeah, you guys can tell me more about the other ones, I guess. Yeah.
Just in case people don't know, you want to tell them what MERN is? Like what are the different components? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basic, it's a Mongo Express, React and Native. And yeah, these are basically React frameworks. So you need React JS for these.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm pretty sure Tom would have loved this. Like, Tom would have went crazy if he was here. But yeah, and yeah, you have other frameworks and other stacks that with, for example, like with Python and, but I don't know much about those other frameworks or
Yeah.
yeah, the other stacks.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think based on like my experience, I would say definitely, like I've worked at two companies and done internships, and all of them have used React in one form or another. Especially if you're like the typical full stack developer. At one company, we used primarily Node.js, which is like part of that MERN stack as well. And at another company, we used Python. So it's really just like the back end that might like differ a little bit, but the fundamental like concepts are still there. But I would say on the front end these days, like you definitely want to learn React if you want to be like a full stack developer. So React and TypeScript as well. For those who don't know, TypeScript is like JavaScript, but with a little bit more of strict typing. So it's closer to a like
Yeah,
Java type language.
yeah,
So I would definitely learn TypeScript. I would learn JavaScript, and I would learn
yeah.
React, and then choose a backend language and kind of go with it. Like a lot of the backend languages will be different in syntax, but like the fundamental concepts are still there. Sky, what do you think?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say for people who don't know, what a stack is, like Dweez was saying. So you said MERN, so it started with Mongo, and that's the database, right?
Mhm.
Okay, and then and then React is like going to be the front end, and then is native also the front end, or
There's
is
no,
that?
I said native earlier. It's not native, it's just Node.js.
Oh,
I don't know why. Yeah, it's Node.js.
okay,
It's
and
like,
that's like
yeah,
front end as well, right?
Node.js is like a backend runtime. So it's like you write JavaScript, but on the server side, and Node.js like runs that code.
Oh, okay, that makes sense because I was doing like JavaScript, and in the terminal you do like run node or something,
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. It was a week ago, so don't kill me. But and then what was the E, Dweez?
Express.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then what is that in the stack?
That I've never worked with it myself.
So
So just
Express
yeah,
is,
yeah.
yeah, I could talk about it. Express is basically like it's a library for JavaScript that lets you write endpoints. So for example, if you want to like write an API, like a get, create, update, and delete API,
Okay.
the way you do that is you download this library called Express, and it will like set up the protocols and the endpoints for you, and then let you like run those endpoints on a particular port. So once you like run, like for example, you said like node run, whatever, npm run or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, when you have Express set up, like when you do node run or npm run, it will basically like host those endpoints that you wrote on a local port. So then when you're on your website, you can like call that endpoint using the URL that you gave it. So it'd be like slash get or slash create or something like that. So Express is particularly like for JavaScript. Every language kind of has something that helps it do that. For Python, for example, it's called Flask. That's like you might have heard that term before. So
Yes.
yeah, exactly. So like Express is the JavaScript version of Flask. I don't know if Express is technically a framework or a library, but either way, it's something that you use for hosting those endpoints. It's pretty cool actually. Like it is used like in production. A lot of like companies will choose Express at a as a production level library. So I would try it. Yeah, exactly. Someone said Express is like a web backend framework to build RESTful APIs. That's perfect description.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was definitely wondering about that.
Cool, cool. Yeah. I think like for Java, you have something called Spring Boot. I don't know if that's like the equivalent of Express, but it is some like library or framework that helps you write backend code. So, cool. Yeah, we have a lot of different questions in the chat that we can kind of get to. So someone says, "Hey guys, I'm new at this. Which one is better to start, TypeScript or JavaScript?" Does anyone want to take this? Or I could.
Mm, I don't know much about TypeScript, but I what is it exactly? Could you? Yeah.
Yeah, I could kind of give it a quick definition. So, everyone knows what JavaScript is. It's the just the language itself. TypeScript is kind of like an extension to JavaScript, which adds typing to it. So what that means is that like when in JavaScript, if you just declare like a variable, you could just do like const num equals 5 or something, or like you can use let and const to basically define those variables. When you use TypeScript, you're required to like tell the code what the type of this variable is going to be.
Yeah.
And it's strict typing, so that means it's like you have to like cast cast variables if you want to change their types. You like functions have a certain type and that they return and take in as parameters and stuff like that. So it has nothing to do with the output of the code. Like all the output will be exactly the same, but it's more for the developers to like what's it called? Work together to know like what types functions will return and stuff like that. It's really good for debugging and avoiding future bugs because similar to like Java, for example, you can define like objects that have like certain properties. In TypeScript, they're called interfaces, and that's what's it called? They when you have those interfaces and you know what like a function is going to return, for example, if you try to like use a property that doesn't exist or you try to like cast or call like substring on an integer, for example, like it'll tell you that that's an error and you can't do that before you even like before you run your code. So it's very helpful from that perspective, but it all compiles down to JavaScript anyways. So at the end of the day, it's the same output of code, if that makes sense. So I think that sort of answers the question. You should definitely start with JavaScript, learn like the fundamentals of the language first, like how to write if statements and for loops and stuff like that, and then move on to TypeScript afterwards. Because TypeScript is definitely like the standard these days for writing production level code. Because when you have like hundreds of engineers working on one product, you need a little bit more strict typing to enforce like certain rules in your code and stuff like that. So that kind of makes sense to you guys? Do we, does that answer
Yeah,
the
yeah,
question?
thanks. That's a great explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, that
Sky, you
makes
want to jump
sense.
in?
With JavaScript too, because that was kind of like a change when because I'm like trying to learn JavaScript now, and I did notice there's no like data types. Whereas, like, obviously, like you said in Java, there you have to declare like the data type and everything like that. And I feel like just looking at it, like JavaScript would maybe be good for like your own projects. But yeah, if you're working with other people, I can see how TypeScript would be a lot more like just cleaner and like more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. It's code is like once you start using TypeScript after you've been learning JavaScript for a while, you're gonna fall in love with it. I did JavaScript for the longest time when I was first learning, and I built a ton of side projects with it. And then once I like discovered TypeScript and started using it, it was awesome. It definitely cleans up your code a lot more, and you use it like in tangent with React and React Native and stuff like that. So it's pretty awesome. Cool. Yeah, so we can kind of jump back into our questions. Again, for everyone who's just joining or joined recently, we're talking about different types of engineering today. So like what is web development, what is embedded, what is mobile, what is software, stuff like that. So if you have any questions to that or just tech in general, definitely feel free to drop questions in the chat and we'll definitely answer them. So I think a question that we could talk about that at least I didn't know a lot about until recently. But what is embedded engineering? Like you hear that term, a lot of people ask to hire embedded engineers, or I think like classes in colleges now like have embedded somewhere in them. So what would you guys say embedded engineering is? You guys definitely go first on this one because I'm clueless on that one.
I believe embedded engineering is like when you combine or you're coding on something that's in like an electrical device, or that's in like some sort of hardware, I think. I just know it like I ordered like a an Arduino or like a Raspberry Pi or something, and that would be considered, I think, embedded engineering because you like kind of are working with the hardware and then you're working on the code that like physically changes whatever you're working on. That's
Mm.
my understanding of like embedded engineering.
That makes sense. Yeah, so it's kind of like in between software and hardware engineering, it seems like it's like the lowest level you can go.
Yeah, like kind of like combining the two, I guess.
Mm, that makes sense. Yeah, Dweez, do you know any more about it?
Y- Yeah, no, but like it's like IoT devices. Would you consider that embedded engineering as well?
I think so. Yeah, based on Sky's definition, because IoT is definitely like you're interacting with a lot of hardware. It's not like your typical computer, but it is. Like if you're working again with like a smart TV or something like that, I would say that that's definitely like you write code and you see immediate like physical feedback. So yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it would count as that.
Yeah,
I
I think
looked up
it's gonna be, yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Dweez. I said I looked at the like the kind of definition or whatever, and it said it involves the development and testing of software that operates commercial and consumer devices.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, but and anything that like I'll watch like a YouTube video and someone's like coding their LED light strip to do whatever.
mm,
I consider that like embedded engineering, I guess.
mm. Yeah, that makes sense. So I think based on what Louise is saying as well, like it seems like IoT developers these days are like the majority of folks that work professionally in embedded. Now that I think about it, like I worked at a company that did like wrote code for like security systems, so that included like cameras and alarm systems and stuff like that. I worked on like the web side of things, but now that I think about it, there's a lot of people that I knew that worked like actually on the devices and like wrote like operating systems for those devices, basically. So I guess yeah,
Mhm.
like that would be considered embedded engineering. Would you guys say that there's any like projects that people could work on at home that would be considered embedded, or is it like really just if you work at a company that makes devices, that'll be your only way in?
Yeah, like you can, I think on Microsoft's website, you can learn, yeah, IoT development. They
Mm,
have like a short course where they like, yeah, just give you an introduction. They send you a Raspberry Pi at home. And
mm,
yeah, you just have to do like some assignments. So I
yeah,
think
yeah, I
it's
guess
pretty
that,
cool. Yeah.
yeah, I guess kind of like what Sky said, like ordering Raspberry Pis or Arduinos at home is like
Yeah.
the best way to kind of get started with it. Or have you done any of that kind of engineering, Sky? Like, if you wrote code for those
Um,
Raspberry Pis?
Yeah, I had a I can't remember the name. Oh, it was it's a Lego,
Mm,
Legoo, and I think it
mm,
maybe is like the cheaper version of a Arduino.
mm,
And it's really affordable. You can get it on Amazon, and I think right now is like the best time to be able to do like embedded engineering because you can order like all of these little trinkets and you can get all the electrical supplies and everything like literally on Amazon or like AliExpress, Alibaba or whatever. But that might take
mm.
like 3 months to get to you. But yeah, I built this one. I want to like use it more. I really want to like get into it more because it's really satisfying being able to see the results of your project like right in front of you. But I basically had like this. It's like an ultrasonic detector, so it's sending out like sound signals that we can't really hear, but it's bouncing off the closest object from the sensor. So I set that up, and then I had a row of LEDs, just one LED to like nine. And then the closer like an object got to the sensor, the more LEDs would light up. So it was just like I was just like trying it out, but I could like hold it right here and then hold my hand. And the closer I got, the LEDs would like light up the row.
Mm,
So it was kind of like just playing around with like the actual mechanics of it and getting used to like the little switchboard and everything.
hmm
But that was really fun. And I think that kit is like maybe $50,
mm.
probably less if you get it on Amazon and stuff. But yeah, that stuff is like very fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've always wanted to do like a little bit of that stuff to understand more hardware
Mhm.
than the typical software engineering. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. We have like a ton of questions in the chat that people ask. So if you just scroll, so someone said, um, so I see some developers also moving to Angular, like the mean stack. Would you say Angular is getting more popular? I can quickly answer this. Like I haven't seen a ton of developers using Angular professionally. I know like a lot of people learn it as kind of like a more advanced level than React. But honestly, like the majority of people that I know that either work in industry or do like consulting or something like that, they definitely still recommend React just because it has like such a bigger developer community and as well as just the fact that it's the open source community is super strong. So like a lot has been built already in React. So people tend to use React because of that fact. It's kind of like a closed feedback loop. So Angular, I mean, if a company's using Angular and you need to learn it because you're like gonna work there or something, yeah, like definitely go learn it. But I would say like React is a strong one to stick with. I think we can answer this next one.
Hmm.
Do front-end developers use JavaScript to do object-oriented programming, or do they use other languages?
Yeah. So object-oriented programming, there are basically two types of programming. You have functional
Hmm
programming languages and object-oriented programming languages. I would say JavaScript is a functional programming language. So you work with functions in like functional programming. For object-oriented programming, you work with objects and classes and things like
hmm
that, and characteristics. Characteristic an example thereof is like Java or C++. They're mostly used in game development, where you can like actually create objects
hmm
and classes. And yeah, people don't really use like JavaScript is a functional programming language. So yeah, I don't know if people, yeah, I'm pretty sure people do use like object-oriented programming for web development as well in some cases. But
hmm
JavaScript itself, I to go back to the question,
hmm
um, they people use C++ plus plus and Java and maybe C sharp for object-oriented programming. JavaScript is not an object-oriented programming language.
Yeah, I would say like if you use object-oriented as a front-end developer, then you'd rather be using like TypeScript and type checking things and creating interfaces and stuff like that. But it's a little bit, it's like we said, it's not your typical object-oriented programming language. Cool. We can kind of jump into the next one. I think Sky, curious to get your opinion on this. So someone says, guys, I'm into React and Ruby. What do you think about them? Have you done any like Ruby development or React in particular?
I haven't, and I haven't even done React. So I wish I had a good answer for that, but maybe you guys can.
Yeah, that might be an answer in itself. So you haven't done any React or Ruby like in a college environment, right? And have you done like
Oh, is that what the question was? If I've done it?
no. So I'm just curious because like I haven't had any exposure with it either, and like Ruby in particular, in like a lot of years. So I think that might say like
Oh, yeah.
how much of like industry wide it is, I guess. So like what languages do you use in a college environment, I guess? Like what do you kind of study with? What do you use primarily?
Yeah, so at my university, they started us out learning Java. So we went through two courses or semesters learning Java. So like the very beginning to like Java effects. So kind of like user interface, putting it all together and building
Hmm.
bigger projects. And then I took a class and my professor for this next programming languages class, he was really big on like what are the top languages, which we didn't really do the top languages, but he had us do C, C++, and then we did Scheme, and then we did Prolog. So Scheme and Prolog are like very low level. You
Hmm.
probably will never use them, but they're good for like problem solving and learning how the computer works, just getting familiar with all the languages. I would say out of all those languages I've worked on, and then like assembly language as well, the most helpful to me in the industry is probably going to be Java and C++, or perhaps C if I wanted to do low level, like work at Tesla or whatever. Like a lot of their stuff is coded in C.
Hmm.
Um, so those are probably the most helpful. But as far as like React and Ruby and stuff, if you wanted to learn them, I would maybe take a course online. That would be the best option. But
Yeah.
those are, I think they're a little bit more like niche depending
Hmm.
on the company.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Ruby. Like I don't know Ruby and I've never like needed to know it in a few years of working. So it's one of those languages that's yeah, like you said, it's probably niche. There's probably like specific use cases for why a company would choose Ruby or Ruby on Rails and stuff like that.
If you want to work at a company and it references Ruby, like for sure learn
Yeah.
that. 'Cause then you're gonna have like a way better chance of being able to work there, but it kind of depends.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Do you know it by any chance? Or like do you have experience with Ruby?
With Ruby, no, but I have heard some people use that instead of JavaScript for backend development in some instances. It's not, mm, yeah, it's not a commonly used language. It used to be more popular a couple of years ago, but
Hmm.
now there are just, yeah, better things to work with. So, yeah, if the I the fact that it's decreasing in popularity to me says that you should, not, I don't know. There were probably better languages and frameworks and libraries like JavaScript that you can use for the same goal. So, and everyone is looking for a React developer. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think I agree there. I think, yeah, there's another question I can answer really quickly. Someone was saying, what operating system are you using for work? We can kind of each go just rapid fire and say what you guys use. I'm a big Mac fan. I love like the Mac environment. I have an iPad, a MacBook, an iPhone, and everything. So it all kind of works good together. And I think I like being close to like a Linux environment. So that's kind of what I use. Dweez, what about you?
Yeah, I just have like, so in like 2017, my mom bought me a laptop for like university. I use
Nice.
that same laptop. It's been like 7 years, 6 years. It's just a Windows
Mm.
Oh
top.
no.
I slapped an SSD in it when I got it. Like a few months, I was like, nope, this isn't working for me. So I got like this Samsung SSD, right? Then I like opened the whole thing. I had to basically dismantle it and plug in the SSD. And yeah, it still works great. Like for a
Um,
6 year old laptop, it's amazing. I think I'm gonna get a new one soon though,
Yeah.
because yeah, you kind of live on the edge, right? One day you may just wake up and bam, it doesn't work anymore. So yeah, then
Yeah.
I won't be able to edit videos. So yeah, I definitely going for an upgrade soon. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna get next. It's I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Sky? Are you Mac or Windows?
I'm a Mac girl,
Mm.
so Mac OS, but I'm married to an Arch Linux lover. So he's like, my husband's like really into Arch Linux right now and Linux, and
Yeah.
he doesn't want the bloat. So he's like really into that. But yeah, I'm a Mac girl.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I've known a couple of people who are super into like Linux, and I know it's like one of those things you don't use Linux as like a casual, like just casual computer
Oh yeah.
user. You're like you gotta be passionate.
Oh yeah, I definitely
Hackers.
about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we have it seems like a conversation going on here in the chat. Basically somebody's asking, how can I switch my career to engineering? And this is like a very broad question. So I think, yeah, what would you guys say for this one? How would you switch to engineering? Louise, you want
You,
to start off? I think you,
yeah, you
yeah.
gotta start treating like the learning process as a job first. So to get the job, you need to start treating it as a job right off the bat. So yeah, you need to make time for it every day. Set like an hour or two apart if you work or you're still working in another field, but definitely make time to learn to write your code, to learn your yeah the concepts. And yeah, I think if you actually yeah put a maybe 5 days a week aside for it, I think it will definitely you'll see results for the long term. You got to see it like a marathon, the learning, and not like a sprint where you try to learn everything in 2 months. It's just not gonna work. Just take your time learning.
Yeah, yeah. I would say if you want to switch your career, like the best way to do it is definitely with like online materials that are out there. Like look at Codecademy, for example. Look at Practicum here. There's like boot camps and stuff like that. So definitely look at those kind of materials because I'm guessing if you're switching your career from a different one, you don't want to go like the typical college route at that point. Because I think the college route is great if like you're young still and starting out, and that's the career you want to get started in because it helps build a fundamental knowledge. But if you just want to like jump into the industry and start working right away, I think there's more than enough online materials. So I would definitely like if you're looking just for websites, there's like Coursera and Codecademy. If you're looking for more of a boot camp setting, Practicum here offers a great one, and there's lots of ones all over. So I think another tip I just want to add quickly is like it's really helpful to narrow down exactly what you want to do before like learning a whole array of things. Like if you want to be a web developer, then focus on that. If you want to be like a data scientist, then focus on that. But yeah, that's what I think. What do you think, Sky?
Well, first, I was going to say you guys like this live if you're enjoying our conversation because it helps us out a lot. So hit the little heart and like this. And then I was going to say I'm actually like that first case scenario that you said you might not want to just like quit your job. Because like a year ago, I literally was working in healthcare and then I just quit my job to go to university. And that was for the fact that I didn't have like the time to do both, and I didn't have the money to do like working and part time. Like I just needed to go full in on full time school because of like loans and stuff. But I would say if you're switching industries, a really good thing that you can do, just kind of like a tip, is you can definitely leverage whatever industry you were in before into your new industry. So if you're learning software engineering, like definitely leverage what you've learned in your other career. And it's going to bring you a long way into software engineering because there's a lot of like soft skills that you need to know. And then also just like learning, obviously it's gonna take like a long time. So just take like tiny little steps every day. And that's gonna, because it's gonna feel very overwhelming. Like if you're getting into a whole new industry, especially engineering, there's so many things you need, you feel like you need to know about. But if you just start with like the very baby, like basics, one day you'll wake up a year later and be like, whoa, I know like so much more than I did last year. And it didn't even feel like it was that hard.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a great perspective on it. Yeah, if you want to learn more about that, we've definitely done other lives on this topic, and everything's uploaded to YouTube and stuff like that. So go check it out, and we've answered tons of questions on that topic. Yeah, to shift back real quick into types of engineering, I think this is a pretty common question that I'd love to get your perspective on as well. What would you define cybersecurity engineering as? Like, what is a cybersecurity engineer? What do they do? And types of projects they work on and stuff like that. Uh, Louise, you want to go first with this one?
Yeah, so cybersecurity engineering, most of the time, they are hackers that resorted to peace. So they quit hacking and then they end up doing yeah, cybersecurity. But basically, they designed the security system of a website, and yeah, they the security system is built so that there can't be any data breaches and things like that. But as I said earlier, most of the time it's like someone hacks a company. Like there's like ethical hackers also, and their job is like to find, yeah, um, yeah, weaknesses in the system, and they enter the system, and
Yeah.
cybersecurity engineers are the ones that are fighting against them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like cybersecurity people are like the police and like kind of like the law and order of like, the company's cyber and, they're kind of telling everyone like, okay, don't open the phishing email. And like, if you do, then you have to go to a training, which is like prison. And then, they're just like kind of keeping everything in order because there's so many pitfalls that there's so many like people out there that do want to get into your system and get into your passwords and everything. So I feel like they're like trying to keep everyone like safe
Hmm.
in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Compared to
I
what,
would.
like,
Mhm.
hmm yeah,
Go
no,
ahead,
I was
please.
just gonna say, like, compared to like in the early 2000s, you could just like I'm not I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this because it's hacking, but you could just like hack into a system just by putting like the quotation mark. And
Mm,
like if you did that, like you already like breached the database. It was really simple back then. Nowadays, it's there's many different methods with injections and all of that. It's really interesting.
yeah.
I especially like the security aspect of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just like robbing a bank in like the 50s. It's like you just go in there and rob it and then you get away and no one ever finds you because there's no like now there's like security cameras. It's the same thing in like cyber. It's like when I forget the name of the movie. It's a really popular movie, but it's where this kid gets into like this back door of a gaming software in the 90s, and it ends up being like a government program, like a secret government program. But yeah, it was like so easy back then. Like if you knew like the backdoor passcode, you could just get into everything. And now it's like, I feel like it would just be impossible to hack
Yeah.
something nowadays, but they still do it. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. A lot of cybersecurity folks are usually like network, like they're really into networking as well. Like they'll know like a lot, they'll have a lot of network architecture knowledge. I also want to say like I don't know if you guys know this, but a way that people like companies especially have been like battling like hackers and stuff like that is that they will have these things called bounties, which will be like these huge sums of money that they'll give out if someone exposes like a security flaw, for example. So like a good example of this is like Apple with the iPhone. A lot of people say like iPhones are literally one of the most like secure like pieces of hardware and software out there because of the amount of bounties that have already been solved. Like for example, if you find like a security flaw that lets you like get access to a user's messages or something in the iPhone, if you report that to Apple, they'll give you like I think it used to be up to like $1 million or something. Like they were very, very like high amounts. So what you have is like all of these people trying to like hack away at an iPhone, and once they finally do find a security flaw, Apple like fixes it. And if that happens over the course of decades now that Apple's been alive, the iPhone like is now super duper secure because like nobody's like because the bounty's now so high, so it's like so hard for you to find a flaw since a lot of the easy ones have already been solved. So I think that adds to what Sky was saying. Like there's, once you have one bank robbery, you're like, all right, we should probably add like a security system. That's kind of the same thing in cybersecurity. Like once you get hacked once, then you try to figure out how you don't get hacked again. And over time, then things become super duper secure. But yeah, that doesn't mean like cybersecurity folks aren't in demand or anything. Like a lot of companies will hire cybersecurity engineers to make sure that their own systems are like very secure and get recommendations from them and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Cool. I think we're wrapping up on questions, but we kind of skipped over mobile development as like a type of engineering. I think the name kind of like explains itself, but I do want to dig into like obviously you can quickly say what is it, but also say like what kind of career opportunities might open up for you. Like, is it a huge field in your opinion, like mobile in particular? Or is it kind of just like a subset of web development? What do you guys think?
Well, I know, yeah, mobile development, what I think of is like apps on your phone. So I would say like it used to be really popular to create like your own app, and that used to be the thing where like, oh, I want to know how to program so I can like create my own app. Which I still think is really popular and you definitely could do on your own and you can like deploy it on the app store. But I think nowadays like our standards for like a good app is like really high, and it's kind of going toward like companies are really focusing on like very nice apps.
Mm,
But yeah, I still think it's a thing, and I know a few people who work in like mobile development.
yeah. Yeah, I think like especially with now the rise of like cross-platform development, things like React Native and Flutter and stuff, where you can write code once and have it available on like Android and iOS and stuff like that.
Right.
It's become like easier for like an individual to make an app, but as you said, it's also made like the standard for apps just so much higher. Like an app like Uber, for example, is really hard to like just make. You know, there's like a lot of systems in place behind underneath the hood to get something like Uber to work or like what's another popular app like DoorDash, like all those like apps that that are really like mobile first.
Mhm.
They become harder, but also I think if you're like a really good mobile engineer, I would say there's a lot of like opportunities for you, because it's one of those things that's like difficult to stand out because it's now become like a little bit more accessible. But if you are good at it, like there's definitely demand for mobile engineers. What do you think, Louise?
Yeah, I think it's a necessity if you have, especially like those software as a service products, that you have like an app that goes with it. Like yeah, it's mobile development. But yeah, I think it depends also on the service that the company is providing. For example, if you are an agency, then no, I don't think it's a necessity to have like an application. But if you are maybe again delivering a software as a service, like those companies that you find on product hunts, then yes, I think it's essential that you have a mobile app.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like most big companies have mobile apps, just because it's like an expectation at this point.
Mhm.
Also, just want to say, yeah, Scam Likely, thanks for the gifts. You're amazing. We definitely appreciate your support. For everyone that joined recently, we're here every Wednesday at 10:30 Pacific, and we're talking about tech or some topic around tech. And if you have any questions, dropping them in the chat, we'll get to them either in this live or the next one. But I think that's pretty much it for today's live. There is one question I just wanted to hit real quick that's kind of a tangent from this topic, but it's always a question that comes up every live. So I think Sky, I'm curious to hear your opinion because I know Dewey's has kind of answered this one before.
Okay.
But do you think that AI is going to replace programmers? Just quick, like
Oh.
2 minutes. What do you think?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm constantly talking about this. I feel like my shortest answer is it's probably going to honestly like rid the people who weren't really supposed to be in the industry in the first place. I mean, that sounds terrible, but it's like it's probably going to weed out a lot of people who are not investing their time in their career and they're not constantly learning new things. And so maybe the industry will, get a little bit smaller, like the fat will get cut off. That sounds so terrible, but and I think AI is really going to excel the people, like it's really going to push the people forward who are trying to learn and like get
Yeah.
better at their craft and like really understand like what's going on and everything. I think it's just going to help those people.
Mhm.
And then the people who really weren't doing much to begin with or weren't really taking it seriously, those people might end up, falling off
Yeah.
at some point. But yeah, what does that
Yeah.
mean? I feel like that is like, but that's just what I'm constantly thinking, and that's what my thoughts are like dwindled down to after thinking for about it for like months now.
Yeah, yeah, especially with like the big rise in AI. I think that's kind of like back to our topic, like that is a type of engineering in itself. Like a lot of people go into machine learning, like there's titles now that are like machine learning engineer or AI engineer or something like that. So I think AI is one of those things that you need to kind of like understand that it is gonna like be a thing that people go into.
Necessary evil.
I personally think it's like it's overhyped right now and it'll like kind of settle down for a bit. Like for example, if I'm going on LinkedIn, like I'll see a company every day that's like something.ai and they're like doing something that's using AI and I like economically it's impossible for all of those companies to become billion-dollar companies. So I think it'll kind of like weed out a little bit and it'll like settle down, but it's like every company has like a machine learning division now of some sort. So, becoming if embedded's not your thing, if software is not your thing, or mobile or web, like check out machine learning engineering. Maybe that'll definitely sound exciting to you. But yeah, I think we can kind of finish off with that. Just to reiterate, we're here every Wednesday, 10:30 Pacific. We talk about tech on this platform, on Instagram and YouTube and everything. So definitely check us out and give us a follow if you're interested. But definitely appreciate all the great questions we got today. I had a ton of fun answering them, as I'm sure Sky and Dweez did too. If there's any questions that we didn't get to, we're writing all these down, so we'll get to them in a future live for sure. But with that, thank you guys for joining, and really appreciate you. Dweez, Sky, any last
Thank
words
you.
before we hop off?
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. See you next week.
Awesome. See you guys next week. Thank you for joining. Bye.
Bye.